Welcome to Deep Dive by the Quiet Footnote. Today, we're getting into a book that's definitely been around. You've probably seen it, maybe even been a little put off by the title. David J. Lieberman's Get Anyone to Do Anything? Quite the claim.
Oh, absolutely. That title is designed to grab you, maybe even raise an eyebrow.
Yeah.
But what we want to do today is look past that, treat the source material as, well, more of a psychological blueprint.
Right.
We're going to try and pull out the core ideas about human influence, see how they hold up now in 2025. And crucially, the aim here is to see this knowledge as, let's say, armor for you, the listener, not a webhook to use on people.
That's such an important distinction because Lieberman, he's a psychotherapist, a researcher. His goal wasn't just, cheap tricks. He was looking at what he called the core problem, this feeling of powerlessness people have in interactions.
Exactly. That feeling of not being heard, not being able to influence things, often just because, well, we misunderstand basic human psychology.
So he saw people getting frustrated.
Yeah, constantly. He wasn't just listing sales tactics. He was trying to connect serious academic psychology with, actual scripts, things people could use. He wanted to kind of democratize influence, give everyday folks the same understanding that maybe natural communicators or, frankly, manipulators have, but ethically.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. If the intent is ethical, why go with such a, sensational title? It seems like the book's message, deep down, isn't really about control. It's more about understanding.
I think the title is a bit of a hook. It gets you in the door to talk about something deeper. The real message, it's an antidote to feeling helpless. Lieberman's writing for anyone who's felt ignored or talked over, or maybe even manipulated themselves. The core emotional problem he's tackling is that deep frustration when you just can't connect because you don't get the hidden emotional stuff driving someone's behavior.
Right. Which brings us to that foundational idea, the quote that really shifts the perspective. It's the classic, we are motivated not by logic, but by emotion dressed as reason.
That's pretty much the whole ballgame right there. We spend our lives thinking, if I just present the facts, the most logical case, I'll win.
Yeah, that's what we're taught.
But Lieberman shows us people act to protect their ego, their feelings, their sense of self. Logic. That often comes after the impulse, just to justify it. So if you're only talking logic, you're missing the engine completely.
So the techniques in the book, then, they aren't about forcing someone against their will. It's more like understanding their emotional states so they want to align with you.
Precisely. That's the sort of unheard message under all the tactics. Real influence, done right, is about connection, not control.
Okay.
If you can accurately read the emotional truth behind what someone's saying or doing what they really need, which is usually some form of validation or significance, then influence can happen more naturally. You're not fighting them anymore. You're speaking their language.
I like that framing. It forces a rethink about, winning arguments. Which leads us nicely into the major myths Lieberman wanted to bust about human nature. I get people aren't purely logical, but surely the best way to win a debate is still with better facts, right?
Well, that's myth number 2 he really goes after. The book argues, pretty convincingly I think, that you actually win by making sure there isn't an argument in the first place.
How so?
Because once someone feels forced to defend their position, their ego gets involved. And then, facts barely matter. You have to find a way around that defensive wall entirely.
Okay, bypass the defense mechanism. What about the idea that people are just too complex, you can't really know what someone's thinking? Myth number 3.
He argues that's not quite right either.
Yeah.
Yes, behavior can seem chaotic, but there are patterns, emotional fingerprints, as he calls them. They show up when you know where to look.
So it's not mind reading.
No, not at all. It's about observation. Noticing consistency, or maybe a sudden lack of consistency in their tone, their pace, how they carry themselves. When the mask slips, even a little, those fingerprints are visible.
That makes sense. Okay, this brings us to the 5 core principles Lieberman lays out. The rules of the road, so to speak. These felt less sensational, more like the solid foundation of the book.
Yeah, they really are the heart of his philosophy. Let's start with the big one we just touched on.
Principle 1. Emotion rules the mind. Always address the feeling first. Facts come second. You have to, acknowledge the storm before you offer shelter.
Exactly. And that leads directly into principle 2. Validation is stronger than argument. This means genuinely recognizing where the other person is coming from.
Showing you get it.
Right. When someone feels heard, like, okay, I understand why you're frustrated about this deadline, they stop defending so hard. They can actually listen to your potential solution. It just cuts through the friction.
Okay, next up. Principle 3. Identity is the gateway to behavioral. The core idea here is people act consistently with their self-image. This one feels powerful.
Oh, it's incredibly powerful. It could be the difference between success and failure in getting cooperation. Say you need a colleague to take on something tough. You don't pitch it as just more work for a good employee. That's bland. You frame it to reinforce a positive self-image they hold or want to hold.
So how would that sound?
Maybe something like, look, as someone who really gets the bigger picture here, kind of a visionary on this project, your unique insight is crucial for navigating this tricky part. You're offering them a positive identity to step into. The task then becomes a natural way to express that identity.
So the request becomes about who they are, not just what they do. Got it. Okay, principle 4. Awareness protects you from manipulation. The book is pretty explicit. Knowledge of human nature isn't a weapon, it's armor.
And that's key, right? If you know the techniques, you can spot them when they're used on you. Understanding the psychology behind a hard sell or some manipulative social move takes the emotional sting out of it. You can see it clearly and defend yourself calmly.
Makes sense. And the last one, number 5, feels like the ethical core. Principle 5. The highest power is making others feel powerful. True influence isn't about dominating, it's about uplifting.
Yes, it's the most sustainable form of influence because it creates willing partners, not resentful subordinates. If your goal is genuine connection, you want the other person to walk away feeling better about themselves, more capable.
Okay, principles established. Let's talk specific techniques. Some are pretty classic, right? Like the foot in the door thing, start small, get agreement, then ask for something bigger.
Timeless stuff.
But let's pull out 2 quotes that feel especially relevant now in our super-filtered digital world. First, from the part on deception. Truth is effortless. Lies require choreography.
Oh, this one hits differently today, doesn't it? With deep fakes, curated social media, AI writing perfect emails, this quote becomes a really useful detector.
How so?
You listen for the effort. Is it too smooth? Too polished? Is there a sense of cognitive load behind it? That digital choreography, that forced perfection? That's often the tell. Effortlessness, ease that tends to be the fingerprint of truth. Effort is often the sign of fabrication, or at least careful construction.
That's a really sharp lens for today. Okay, second quote from the section on handling conflict. It's like psychological aikido. The surest way to win an argument is to make sure there isn't one.
Yes, this is all about disarming the ego before it engages. Today, this translates directly into mastering that subtle move. Agree in principle before disagreeing in detail.
Give me an example.
You acknowledge the core feeling first. I totally get why you're frustrated with how slow this system is. That immediately lowers the temperature.
Right, you validate.
Exactly. That emotional nod gives you the psychological space to then offer a correction or different perspective without triggering their defenses. I get the frustration, and maybe this workaround could help in the meantime. It's respect built into the conversation.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here. The ethical tension. We live in a world where people are very aware of things like gaslighting, power dynamics. If I use principle 3, framing something to appeal to someone's identity, isn't that just, well, fancy manipulation?
That is the critical question. And the book doesn't give you a simple answer because the answer lies with you, the user of the techniques.
So it's about intent.
Intent and outcome. Ethical influence aims for mutual benefit, or at least respects the other person's autonomy. It wants a positive result for everyone involved, ideally. Manipulation, that's purely self-serving, often at the other person's expense. Lieberman gives you tools. They're ethically neutral, like a hammer. You decide whether to build a house or break a window.
So influence has to be a dialogue, not a conquest.
Exactly. It has to respect their right to say no, ultimately.
Which is crucial context, especially now, because we're living in an age where AI algorithms, they're using these tactics on us constantly, optimizing for our clicks, our outrage, our engagement. Does Lieberman's work even stand a chance against that?
I'd argue it's more vital than ever. The principles haven't changed. Human psychology is still human psychology. But the scale and speed of application, that's what's terrifying.
Manipulation on an industrial scale.
Precisely. It's mechanized now. So understanding these emotional levers isn't just useful, it's becoming essential for self-defense. If you don't grasp how validation or identity appeals work, then synthetic empathy from an AI chatbot designed to persuade you, well, it's going to run right over you. Lieberman helps you decode that.
Okay, let's make this really practical. How can listeners actually use these ideas today? What are the best practices for navigating our current world?
Okay, first big one. We need to adjust how we respond. The practice is validate before you redirect.
And that linguistic trick you mentioned earlier comes in here. using and instead of but.
Exactly that. It's small but powerful. But often negates whatever came before it. I hear you, but it dismisses their point and acknowledges and builds. Compare. I know you're tired, but we need to finish this. Versus, I know you're feeling tired, that makes sense, and that's exactly why if we tackle this hard part now, while we have some energy left, tomorrow will feel much easier. See the difference?
Yeah, the first one feels like a dismissal. The second feels like teamwork.
Connection. It maintains the emotional flow.
Okay, next practice. Appeal to identity, not logic. We talked theory, but let's take a common example. Getting a teenager, say, to clean their room. How does that work?
Okay, nagging is the logic approach. Clean your room because it's messy. That's the rule. It rarely works long term.
Definitely not.
The identity appeal is recruitment. It might sound like, hey, as someone who's clearly getting more independent and values having your own space managed well, you'll probably want to get your room organized so it's ready for whatever you've got planned.
You're framing it as competence and independence.
You're selling them a positive self-image, mature, responsible, which is way more motivating than just avoiding trouble.
That's a total reframe. Okay, third best practice. This one challenges the idea that power means being loud or forceful. Use calm presence as strategy.
This is huge for tense situations. Lieberman points out something like, power in communication isn't volume, it's emotional calibration.
Calibration meaning?
Meaning you consciously control your own state. Slow down your speaking pace. Lower your tone slightly. Stay calm. In a tense dynamic, people unconsciously mirror each other. If you remain the calm anchor, you subtly guide the other person towards regulating their emotions to match yours. It gives you quiet control over the situation's energy.
That takes practice, I imagine.
Absolutely. And finally, something really needed in our world of likes and emojis.
Yeah.
Practice precision appreciation.
Getting specific with praise.
Exactly. Forget the generic great job or awesome presentation. That stuff is cheap digital currency. Precision appreciation means saying what was great and why.
Like?
Instead of good meeting, try the way you summarize those complex data points on slide 7. That really clarified the core issue for everyone and helped us make a decision much faster.
So the detail makes it real.
Totally. Specificity signals that you actually paid attention, you invested thought. That makes the praise feel genuine and high value. It validates their specific skill, reinforcing their positive identity in a really targeted, meaningful way. Sincerity stands out.
Okay, so wrapping this all up. After digging into it, our final take seems pretty clear. Lieberman's book, despite the title, is a really solid, practical toolkit. Maybe a 3.5 or 4 out of 5 stars. But with that big asterisk, you must bring your own ethical compass.
Couldn't agree more. And that aligns with Lieberman's own repeated point. Use these tools for agency, for ethical influence, not for control. True influence has to respect the other person's autonomy, their right to choose differently.
What really stands out for me looking back is how the book is ultimately a guide to reading the world and ourselves more accurately. It shows that pretty much every interaction starts with emotion, flows from our sense of self.
Which brings us to that final thought we want to leave you, the listener, with. It's a synthesis of Lieberman's core insight, perhaps. The mind follows what the heart permits.
Think about that. It invites you to consider your own emotional landscape first, and then to use this knowledge of influence not just to be effective, but to act with real integrity.